Christine Hebert, I am honored to get this time to sit with you and have you share your story. Welcome to the More Than Your Age podcast.
Hey, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is crazy. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too. When you and I spoke on the phone, I guess it was just last week, I really couldn't believe some of the things that you shared with me and really what you've experienced and how God's hand is over your life, and especially what he's doing a lot right now, just in you and in your story recently. And we are going to get to that, to where you're at right now. But I do want to go back to not the beginning, but to a time that is not a happy time in your life. Is, back in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, you were married and you were pregnant with your son. I would just love for you to just share what you're comfortable with of what life looked like in this particular season.
Yes, so on June 6, 1993, my son was 18 months old, and my husband at the time became very violent. This had over time escalated. In the beginning, everything was fine, and then over years, it started to get escalated more violent. He would throw me up against the wall. He would hit me just for no reason. Not that there is a reason that someone behaves like that. But on this particular day, he got agitated and he was hitting me and ripping my clothes off. And he just left the house, and then I locked the door behind him, and I was able to call 911. And then he realized that he couldn't get back in the house. He came through the window, through over the TV console that we had at the time, busted out the window, came through the house, grabbed the phone and ripped it out of my hand while I was on the phone with 911, smashed the phone into pieces. He was throwing glass around. We had a glass table. He smashed that. And then he started cleaning everything up because he knew the police was going to be there any minute. So he grabbed my son and he went out to the truck where he had his guns and the baby. And he was waiting for the police to come up the driveway because we had about 10 acres there that we were renting at the time. And he was waiting for the police. The two police cars come down the driveway. I run out there. I point out to the police officers, to the truck, and I said, he's got my baby, he's got the guns, help me get my baby, and obviously I was bleeding, my clothes were ripped, everything, so they could clearly see what was happening. The police officers did the SWAT thing where they do the guns, and it looked like a horror movie, but it was my life. And when they got the baby, my son, and took me and the baby into the house to talk, and then they could see that the house was in shambles and the phone was completely smashed to pieces. That was the wall phones. So it was completely smashed. And the police officer said to me, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to sign anything. We are going to take him right now. He's going to be arrested. And, you're going to be able to get safe. You're going to have to go to the courthouse and file a restraining order. And shortly after that, when he got to the jail, his mother called me and said, do whatever you need to do to keep my son from being in jail for the rest of his life because he's going to kill both you and Levi. Now, for a mother to say that about her son, I mean, I was just shaken to the bone because her and I never really got along anyway because I was just more Christian than they were. And anyway, so after that, I went to the courthouse, and I was sitting there in the courthouse with the restraining order lady, and she stayed 2 hours after closing trying to convince me to sign this form. And I was telling her, if I sign this form, he's going to kill me. She's like, if he tries to kill you, we have this form to protect you. And he came to my work and stood out there on top of his truck in the parking lot. The cops had to be called again 2 days later. Every 9 months after this, there was like something that he was causing trouble at my work or whatever else. And so when my son was 3 years old, he falsely accused me of sexually molesting my 3-year-old son, and I was facing 25 years in prison.
Oh my gosh.
The constant abuse with these kind of people, they don't, they don't let up until they decide that they want to let up. He did not stop chasing me, abusing me, or anything like that until my son turned 18 years old. When my son turned 18 years old, he's 33 now, and he's got 4 beautiful children of his own. So technically, I'm a grandma, but nobody can call me that except for the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little denial there. But, I am 57, and, it has taken its toll on my life. And that abuse happened 31 years ago. And because of all of that, I recently started a Bible study group, and we are doing this book here. And it really dived into trauma. So all of a sudden, all those emotions that I had packed away in a box somewhere just to survive through it all have come up, and just like in the last 2 months. And, the group of ladies that we're working with, bless their heart, because I cry just about every single time that we go through our Bible study and the video that goes with it. It's just really, really powerful. It talks about how God takes the trauma in your life and really holds you and loves you through it, like pours love into those broken places. There's a picture that we have that has a broken vase, and it has gold in it. And when it's put back together with the gold, it's just a more beautiful piece of artwork. And I really love that, because I feel like my brokenness is starting to become something more beautiful now that I'm working through the traumas, because it's been so many years and I've been holding it back, and it's been holding me back. Like my relationships, I'm going to have healthier relationships with all kinds of people, friendships, coworkers, whatever else. And I think it's really important that people really get help diving in that. If you can't get this book, go to a counselor or whatever else. I did receive 2 years worth of counseling after the domestic violence thing happened, as far as their program. And what's so funny is I would go into these rooms with these ladies that are all being abused. Like one lady had a broken arm and it was all casted up, and she was saying, "Oh, well, he didn't really mean it." And we're all looking at her like, "Are you crazy?" But when we're in it, we need to have the courage to dial 911 and get help. If my mom said to me, "You made your bed, you lie in it." She knew I lost a pregnancy because of it, the first one, because I was so stressed out and being abused that I just lost the baby. And even at that point, my mom said that to me, and I was so devastated, because here I am seeking help from my family, and that's what they said to me. And granted, she didn't get a divorce from my dad, who was also an abuser, because obviously I've learned this behavior from their modeling. And that's not a great relationship to model. I mean, that's not what real love is. That's not what a marriage is supposed to be. A marriage is supposed to be loving and kind, and it's supposed to be like a really great friendship, that you look out for each other, you support one another, and that's what family should be. But that's not the case most of the time. And women need to start getting healthy for themselves. They need to start putting their needs ahead of everybody else's so they can take care of everybody else. Not from a selfish standpoint. I don't mean to come across that way, but if you don't take care of your health, you're not going to have a very good life. You're going to need major health care in the long run. If you don't take care of those traumas, it's going to manifest in cancer and other diseases. There's been scientifically proven facts on that. And that's why now, when I started this office, this real estate office, they gave me this book, and I could not stop reading it. It talks about money, how to manage money, how to have a really big why, and how to um, feel comfortable with making a lot of money. And in real estate, you can do that. I'm in Central Florida. There's a lot of different products that we have here. I do both residential and commercial, and I can build a domestic violence shelter. It's just a matter of believing that I can. I didn't believe it before. I had the nonprofit that I started in 2006, and it's still going today, but they raise maybe $3,000 to $10,000, and they do scholarships and school supplies and stuff for the fire department and the police and stuff like that for schools. But this is a very big undertaking to build a domestic violence shelter, and I want to raise about $1 million, because not only is it going to be a domestic violence shelter in the Four Corners area next to Disney World, it's also going to be a tiny home community for single moms to have a safe place that's affordable for them to be able to live and thrive and be able to raise their children in a safe environment. And
Yeah,
so
I think it's great. I do want to get to the domestic violence shelter that you've been working so hard on. If you don't mind, Christine, I kind of want to go back in your story when you knew that you needed to call 911. This was a really, really bad situation. How much time had passed when your ex-husband started abusing you? Do you remember how much time?
I think what you're talking about is the day that he first hit me, and I was going to work, and the lady at the coworker, she said to me, "Christine, what's wrong? There's something not right. Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, my husband hit me, and I'm just not really sure what to do about it."
Was that the first
I
time?
Yes, first
It
time he
was.
actually
Okay.
hit me. He verbally abused me, sexually abused me, hit me, like push me around kind of thing. But it was the first time that he actually hit me with his fist. And so I went to work that day, and I was obviously shaken. And she had actually been abused herself in the past, and she knew the signs. So it was like this sisterhood, when someone's being abused in that kind of situation, you just want to take care of them. And what she said to me is, "Okay, we're going to go to my house after work, and we're going to go call the hotline, domestic hotline, and I want you to talk to them and see what they can do about your situation, get their viewpoint on it, you know?" And sure enough, we went to her house, we did the phone call and to the hotline, and they said, "You are in a very dangerous situation, and this is what's going to happen, because once this goes past this point, it's just going to escalate even further, and your life is in danger." And I said, "Well, he's my husband. He's not supposed to be, he's supposed to love me. And we have a child, and I have no place to go. My family's not supportive. What can I do?" And they said to me, "It doesn't matter. You need to get out, and you need to be strong enough." Those are the words that they said to me, "and have the courage to call 911 for help. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to." And and when I locked that door and I knew that I had a few minutes, that's exactly what I did. I was just on automatic pilot. I called that 911, and sure enough, they got the address, and that's all they needed. They were there in no time flat. And there was two patrol cars with I don't remember how many deputies were there, but I know at least obviously two drivers. So um yeah, so definitely have to have the courage, go online, check it out, do the research, create a plan. I think that coworkers and friendships and going to church or having a Bible study with some friends is so crucial and so important. They try to isolate you, not only isolating you from your family, but also isolating you from your friends, isolating you from coworkers. You can't do anything unless it's with them. And it's very dangerous. It's a very
Mm.
dangerous situation. But we have the opportunity, once we are aware of it, to be able to make changes. And that's what my encouragement is to do this podcast. It's very embarrassing to say that this has been my life, but the greater purpose is that somebody out there who is in this situation will hear this podcast and say, that's me. That's my life. I'm walking on eggshells and I don't know what to do about it. Call the hotline first. Talk to somebody about the situation. Get a friend, get a neighbor, let them know what's happening. Have some kind of emergency situation if you have to leave in the middle of the night. I had a neighbor one time that said to me, look, I understand that you're in a situation. If you ever in the middle of the night, you need to come here because you can't get the car because you don't have the checkbook or you don't have access to the bank accounts because that's what they do. They control everything. Come to my house. And that's what people need to do. They need to kind of prepare and make a way out. And that's what the shelter needs. The shelter, and we need to create more shelters all over the world because women everywhere are being abused all the time. And everybody thinks it's okay. It's not okay. This is not the way to live. Life is too short. And, reading this book and having this big why is just, I can't, it may take me a long time to build the shelter. I may never see it come to fruition, but I have to do something. And that's what I'm doing. I'm starting building a fund. I have financial advisors. I have attorneys. I have the nonprofit. So we have a really good setup. And what I'm going to do is every single one of my deals, a certain percentage that they allow, will go into this building fund. I will do fundraisers. I was going to try to do it once a month, but it's too much. I think I'm going to do it like once a quarter. And then, try to get some traction. And we're going to do the fundraisers at several different of the attractions in our Orlando area. So like Top Golf or, some of the other places. We got Disney World, we got Universal Studios. I got friends at travel stations. I'm going to be a travel agent. My daughter's getting ready to go to college August 1st. So this is why this is all happening, is because this is a new season for me. And as women with, older children and so forth, and you're thinking about your next career, your life is not over. This is just we're beginning. This is just a second beginning because you can have more time to dedicate to volunteering in your communities. You can dive in deep into a career that you've always wanted to kick off. I mean, I love real estate. I have 37 years experience and I love it, but I had to be at the school every day at 2:00 to make sure that I picked her up from school. And so I didn't have the luxury of having a nanny or anything like that. I'm still renting. I haven't owned a home since my last divorce. Her dad, I have a daughter, Sophia, and she's going off to college and going to go into fashion and sustainable fashion. She wants to do something good for the community too. So, and we have a really great relationship. And my son is doing well. He is raising his kids in church, and I'm very thankful for that. And he has a really great relationship with me, and he has a not so great relationship with his father because he's realized his true colors. So
yeah. It is unfortunate, especially for your son. And, something to kind of go back a little bit in your story that you mentioned, you said that often, women need the courage to say something to their friend because the abuser is going to isolate them and say, want them for themselves and not to be around anybody. And you shared that your coworker had asked you a question because your coworker knew the signs, because your coworker was previously abused as well. And so I'm curious to know for you specifically, what was it about this coworker that you felt comfortable enough to share what was going on? Because from friends or people that I've known in the past, and also what you said, it's scary. And like you said, you're embarrassed. And so they don't want to talk about it. So what was it about this specific person where you said, no, I have to share what's going on?
I think it was because it happened that morning and I was so shaken that it was visible to anybody from the outside, that I was just in shock, that had escalated to that point because verbally, emotionally, physically, financially, all those kind of things were one thing. Am I like accepting it right now? Oh my gosh, where's my mind?
Yeah.
It's not acceptable. But And I think that's, you know, she saw that in me. And I think I would be able to tell if someone was shaken like that and something was happening. And I get phone calls all the time now because I have all this stuff going on with the shelter and fundraising. I got a call the other day, a lady in Volusia County, which is not really close to me, but a couple of counties away. And she said, my sister is in a domestic violence situation and I don't know what to do. She won't let me help her. She doesn't want to leave the house. And I said to her, I said, she's scared. She doesn't want to leave the house that she's built, her kids, her personal belongings. I said, what you're going to have to do is go over there with police and a truck or a U-Haul or whatever, get her and her stuff out. The police will take the person and detain, put them in the patrol car until she is removed from the property. And then she can start the process of going through the divorce or getting the restraining order or whatever else. But sometimes they have to have physical evidence that there's a threat. Sorry.
No, you're good. So because this woman called of her sister, and her sister, like you said, she's in her home that she built, her family, like this is what she knows, this is what is comfortable. So the question I want to ask, because I hear people ask this question often. So when people who aren't in abusive relationships, they say, why didn't the victim share this information any sooner? What would you say to people who are listening who have zero idea as to what is the reason why often most people do not share sooner?
Well, they're in a marriage, for one, right? They want to believe that things will get better. I used to think if I could just do more, I I would like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had it straight away. It was on the table. I packed his lunch for work. All of these things. I just thought I'm just not a good enough wife. There's something wrong with me, and I didn't want to leave because I didn't have a place to go. If I had, like, if my mom opened up her house, for example, and said, get your butt over here now, that would be a different story, but I didn't have that, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have the financial resources because he had the bank accounts, right? Because according to Christian women, we're supposed to let them lead the house, and we've become this doormat. And I think that, that scripture about, submitting to your husbands is very difficult for a lot of people to handle. But it's also, the husband has to be worthy of being a Christian leader in the household. And he was obviously not. Yeah. So I think that is important too, is to have a person that is of the mindset of being a Christian loving leader, not someone that's going to beat you, right? So obviously they don't come with a sign on their face saying, this is who I am, I'm a beater and I'm going to beat you, right? They are con artists. They smooth you over, or whatever you want to call, sweep you off your feet, tell you everything you want to hear, and then you're married and inside this house and everything changes. And I think as women we need to make sure that we have our own savings account, we have our own bank accounts, we have a mutual account that's for expenses for the household and etc. But we need to also keep our own identity, because if they choose to go off and have an affair, which is what my second husband did. We were together a total of 15 years. And all of a sudden during we agreed to have our daughter, and she was born in 2007. And then the financial crisis happened in 2008, and everything was my fault. And he lost his job, position that he was grooming himself for with the company. He got demoted. All his 401k went somewhere, and everything else what happened. Well, I didn't have a 401k. I was a stay-at-home mom after 2008. So I stayed home with my daughter for a couple of years, and then I started working at night as waitress so that I could be with her during the day, because I just wanted to be with her because I knew it was going to be my last child. And then we were like two shifts in the night, when I was doing the day shift and he would come in at night, and I would work until 2 o'clock in the morning. And then things just kind of, we were in separate bedrooms for a year and then separate homes for a year. And then we finally got a divorce, and he was actually having an affair with someone. And he ended up getting married to her just last November. And now, things aren't so great with them. And it's like, I just don't know what is going on with people. I mean, why do you have to make life so miserable? I don't want those people around me. And I want to encourage people to get into healthy counseling, to get into healthy relationships and learn what they are. Because our parents back in the day, I'm 57, so our parents didn't have all the books that they have now and all the stuff that's on YouTube and everything that you can research at a few clicks of a laptop. Um, I think it's really important that we surround ourselves with like-minded people, getting into church, getting into a Bible study or a women's group and having that fellowship and, doing stuff for the community. It's so rewarding. I mean, I'm with this office and there's like, I don't know, 300 agents or something like that. And I was in a training just this past week and I was sharing that what my goals were. I want to do like $380 million in production. I want to do the domestic violence shelter. I want to build a subdivision. I want all these things because now I just feel like it's just a new chapter for my life. And I really need to kick butt in real estate for the next 10 years because I have no retirement because I stayed home. I didn't keep a job. I don't have Social Security because, you don't pay into Social Security very much with a waitress job, and I did marketing positions and things like that in the past, but real estate's always been my background. And I just love it. I love finding the right home for people. And I love doing the commercial and the building and the subdivision. I don't know. I just feel like this is my plan for why I went through all that pain to try to create something good for other women in the future, that they have a place to go. Everybody deserves a safe place to call home. I keep thinking that.
When you're saying everyone deserves a safe place to call home, and when you were in the midst of the I don't know if it's the darkest season in your life, it sounds like it, if not the one of the darkest seasons in your life, you shared that you didn't have a safe place to call home, you didn't have your family to go to. And so how what did you do to really get out? You mentioned you called the police on that one horrible night, and then his mother called you to let you know, like, you need to stay away because bad things are coming. And so you're like, okay, well, he had the bank account, he had all these things. And so how did you really transition out of that, to really be in a safe place that was your new home?
Yeah. So he was restricted to come to the house for 30 days. So I was able within that 30-day period is to put some money aside. I went to this place to get an apartment, and I told them what was happening. And they happened to be the assistant chief of police in that area. It was in Palmetto, Florida. And so I rented the little apartment. It was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. I remember that, and had a little community pool. And it was nothing fancy, but it was like, $580 a month. So I could do it. And then I was talked to the church, and the church helped me a lot for the first couple of months to get on my feet. And then I was able to continue to work, and then and things just were just going fine, except that he would constantly be harassing me because he had to have visitation and things like that. And so, in order to do visitation, we have to see each other. So we would either do it at a police department or at the Department of Family and Children's Services. It's it's not a good way to raise a child, but
Yeah.
I think that my son um, is really such a wonderful dad now because he knows um, what his dad was like. And he goes to church with his children and his girlfriend. They're not actually married, but and they have the 4 children. And, you know, it's just a blessing to see him. The very first time he had come through, he was a boy when he went into the hospital when she was having the C-section. When he came out of the operating room, he was like, "Mom, I am so sorry for everything I've ever done to you. I need for women to survive that on a daily, on a yearly basis or whatever, to have children." And he had a whole new appreciation for being a mom, being a dad, and it just slowly grew over time. And I think that was a real blessing, and it really kind of restored a lot of things for our relationship. Um, and I think that's the key to all of this, is that, God will restore and heal if we allow him to, if we surrender ourselves to him. And the book talks about that a lot. Is it okay if
we
I read a little bit? I have
Sure. Will
this,
you share the title in case anybody listening wants to check it out? And I'll
yes,
put it in the show notes too.
yeah. So it says Fully Alive, Learning How to Flourish Mind, Body, and Spirit by Susie Larson, Larson. And there's a thing in here that I just thought would be a great little, it's just a couple paragraphs, all right? God gives us good gifts to enjoy, and it's actually wonderful for our brains when we engage our senses as we notice all He has given. How good, healthy, and healing it is for you to smell a bouquet of flowers, to enjoy the moment, to taste food and savor it, and marvel at the beautiful sunset until it brings tears to your eyes. Spend some time this week noticing the good in your present moments and linger there for a while. It will change you from the inside out. And this is called Miracle. Pray for a miracle. Dare to daily pray out loud so your own ears can hear it. This bold prayer. You are the God who performs miracles. You're working wonders in me. With all my heart, I believe you intend to restore my soul. Open my eyes so I can see you move in my midst. I believe you are doing a new thing, and I want to participate with you in my healing process. May my life be a living, breathing testimony of your miracle working power. Awaken fresh life in me. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. And this is just chapter 2.
Well, I mean, Christine, you've endured a lot, and you've been on this healing process, and God is obviously working so much in you and healing you and this group that you're talking about that you're a part of, and you share this a little bit, but we'll go more into it too. I want to have you share this. Because of all this, you do want to have this domestic shelter for other women who are going through exactly what you went through. And I would love for you to just share kind of why you decided, no, there needs to be a specific domestic shelter, as opposed to just, outsourcing people that come to you or that you hear of to another place that already exists, and where your story falls in with all of that. I'd love to hear that.
So when I was researching for creating my nonprofit organization that I have in 2006, I was I went to the counties and I said, how does this work? What kind of domestic violence shelter do you have? And how does it usually work? And they said, well, usually one county has about 100 beds, and we share it with other counties.
Mm.
So, oh my gosh. So we have an area in our area that is by Disney World, and it has 4 counties that come together, and it's called Four Corners. So it's kind of like this intersection little piece of area. So I thought, well, if that's the case, why don't I get the 4 counties to contribute 25% of resources to help this building occur? And it has to be a safe location, a secret location, and that kind of thing, for the safety of the ladies that are going to be there. But I can't stop thinking about the ladies that are going to be there in the future and their children. And I know it's a huge undertaking. There's so much red tape that's involved, especially when you're trying to do anything good for the community and everything else. It's so much easier just to bring a bunch of supplies to a domestic shelter. And that's fine. If that's what you and your little group want to do, to, make little baskets for them when they come in, and it has slippers or beauty products or a robe or nice pajamas or something that smells really good, because when they come in, they're traumatized and they just need to have a safe place and feel comfortable in that space. And I think that is really difficult to do anywhere. And I really feel like a shelter, even though it's a last resort, should be available to everyone that needs it. And the problem is that they're understaffed, they're overbooked. The need is so incredible. Even churches are really excited about my proposition because they want to get involved because they're nonprofits. And so, anything that anybody contributes toward the building fund is tax deductible. So that's an incentive to get involved. And businesses that are in the Four Corners area should take a part of building this single mom community, the tiny home community, or the domestic violence shelter. There's no telling what we can do. And before, I didn't think it was possible because I was so overwhelmed with my own circumstances.
Yeah.
I'm renting. I don't even own. How can I do this? Who am I to even take this on? And it's like God saying to me, with God, anything is possible. If he puts the right people in your path and connects the right people. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, hey, look, with this church, and I love this idea. We're going to be building a church in that area. I want us to be a part of that. When can we schedule a meeting? And it's like, are you kidding me? I've been trying to do this for how many years? And now it's starting to come together. And it's just like in God's timing, right? And with his resources, it's not by my strength. I can't do it. But I'm thankful that he is restoring my heart. My soul has been so wounded. I was angry for him. I was angry for God for so long because why does he allow bad things to happen in our lives? And he's like, I don't allow that to happen. I'm here to help you get through what happened, right? I mean, betrayal, one relationship after the other. uh, you know, uh, we would go to church and do all this stuff. We went to the husband and wife marriage retreat, and how come it didn't work? And he was just like sitting there with me, but completely refusing to have any kind of openness to work it out. You can't make a marriage if somebody won't do anything to help or even communicate. I mean, he told me I had absolutely no value in the marriage. After 15 years being together, and our daughter was born, and now she was 4 or 5 years old and starting school, and he decides that he no longer wants to be married to me. Where's my financial resources? How am I supposed to start my life over again? I've been diving in deep, doing dance classes, mom and me groups with other moms in the area, and you know dance and Girl Scouts and everything. I was everything to her. And I don't regret any of that, but I was carrying the weight so that he could work and have his career. And now he's gone, and now I have no resources. And I want to encourage other women to be smart about that. Yes, there's a time and place for it, but always have either a part-time job or keep your own emergency. I'm going to call it a get out of Dodge account. When you have to get out, nobody plans this. Nobody gets married and say, hey, I can't wait until he tries to kill me. That doesn't come up in a conversation when you're talking about marriage. No, it's always this romantic sweep you off your feet, and they're manipulating you, and then they control, oh, don't worry about it. I'll pay for this. I'll pay for that. And all of a sudden, you don't have access to the bank account. Your name's not on the house. You're not on the cars. And what? You can't do anything. Don't be deceived by that. Be wise.
Something you said, and that I think a lot of people in general, but I know women specifically, and obviously this podcast is geared towards women, when really difficult things happen, really hard things like what you experienced, Christine. And like you said, you thought this too of, why would God allow this? Why would he allow this to happen? And you're saying, he took you away from that. And he's putting you where you are now to help so many other women. And you don't even know how many more, and his hands in it. And, and I had a really hard thing happen to me recently as well, different, but it was very difficult. And the question of, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And it's like, well, there's a lot of evil in this world. God's not in charge of the evil. Those people made those decisions, and they are against God 100%. And that's what these situations are as well. They're these evil acts. And so in that, once you're removed from that, what is God going to do with that, and how is he going to work in you? And Christine, that's what he's doing. And when we talked on the phone, you shared a story that was so powerful of what happened not this past weekend, but the weekend before, when you were holding that house open. And I really want you to share that story with the listeners, because I have people who follow Jesus that listen to this podcast. I have people who don't. And I just want them to be able to see God's hand in your life right now.
So what happened was, on Saturday, I got a phone call from this gentleman, not with my company. I don't even know him. And he just said that he was stalking my Facebook, and he saw how good I do my marketing. I like to do open houses, and I like to create wow marketing and all this kind of stuff to help sell the homes. And he said, do you want to open my house? I have it listed for sale. It's 239 million. Sorry, it's $2.39 million. I said, I already have appointments in place today that I can't move around, but Sunday after church, I can do it. Would that be okay? And then that way it'll give us 24 hours to market it and everything else. He said, yeah, that's great. So we agreed. And so I did the open house. I went there, I got all this food. I like to have some chips and salsa and some cheese and crackers and vegetables and all kinds of stuff, cookies and everything else. And so when they come into the house, they just go, wow, wow, why do you do this? Because nobody does this. Maybe they'll have some water or some cookies or something, but that's about it. And I said, you know what? This is a $2.3 million house. So you need to envision your family enjoying this house. And sometimes they have children with them. So I like to have things that children like the cheese sticks or the crackers or, stuff like that they like with small fingers. But the most thing that everybody likes to eat is chocolate chip cookies. It's the funniest thing. They'll have a water and a chocolate chip cookie, and they're good to go. But sometimes I invite friends and stuff like that, and previous clients, and they come over. But this one party, husband and wife that came through, he's a church leader in our area, and they're getting ready to retire, and they have 11 grandchildren, and they really want to have a big house that there's final. So they sold their property a while ago, and they've been renting, looking for this property to be the perfect thing. Well, they love the house. They wanted to put a cash offer in. And he says to me, we got to talking because he said he was a church leader. And I said, do you mind if we pray about everything? Because I shared about the domestic violence shelter. And he said, you're kidding me. How did that come apart? We want to be a part of it. We want to fund it. I'm like, what? I said, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. This is not even my listing. And you're coming here. You want to buy this property at 2.39 million, and you want to fund my domestic violence shelter. I was like, are you kidding? This is like blowing my mind how God orchestrated this whole thing. And then in the house, in the listing was a Christian home, and they had Christian decor on the wall, and it said, life is better when you say your prayers. But I didn't realize that when I asked him to say prayers with me, we were standing in the kitchen and we were holding hands, me and his wife, holding hands, and he was praying over the situation, over the domestic violence shelter, over his circumstances, the house, everything else, because the owners that own the house are actually moving away because their daughter is going off to college in another state. So this is how this all unfolded. And he was the only buyer that came in the entire day. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but it blows me away. I'm like,
Yeah.
and that's the God we serve, right? The God that says, I love you so much that I'm going to take your broken pieces and I'm going to make you whole again. I'm going to restore your heart, your mind, your body. I'm going to heal you. Just trust me. And it's so hard to do sometimes because we want to do it in our own strength. But when we finally say, you know what, God, I can't do it. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life anymore. I need you to take the wheel. I need you to guide my every step. And look what he does. Last Sunday, I did the same open house. And because the gentleman didn't put the offer in yet, he's talking with the financial advisors and so forth. They don't make fast decisions with these kind of things, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But, and I got a listing out of it, $2.8 million. I'm showing that property tomorrow. There's a family from Israel that is trying to get away from Israel because of everything that's happening over there with the war. And they're doing a L1 visa so that they have to buy a piece of property. I'm taking them out on Wednesday to show 3 different properties that they're going to want to build more houses for families that are over there, their mom and dad on each side and other family members. So I don't know about you, but I see God's hand in everything now, and it's freaking me out. I mean, it's exciting, but it's like really scary at the same time because
Mm-hmm.
how can you deny that he's not in this? I
Right.
mean, I don't understand how people can't believe that he's real. And I pray for people's eyes to be opened. I mean, for a long time, I didn't feel that he would love me because I felt like he wasn't there for me, but he was. He was carrying me in the darkest times in my life. And now through this next season, this book, I, I'm sorry, but this has just opened it. It made it so real to me. It says, God loves you. He is holding you. He is carrying you. He cries when you cry. That's huge. I thought he didn't care about me. He
But he
died on the
does.
cross for me.
Yeah, it's huge. It's just, I mean, just that the fact that the only buyer came to that house and wants to fund the shelter, it's, phenomenal. And I know that you are doing additional events every month to help fundraise for the shelter as well. And that's huge. And also the fact you said too before, you when you were in your marriage where you were staying home and you were doing all the mom and me things, and your skills that you had skills, and you still have skills. And flash forward to, we didn't talk much about the nonprofit. I'll put that more in the show notes because I want people to check it out. But you started that, and then you're very successful in your real estate, and then now working on this domestic shelter. Like, you have these skills, and God is using you, and he's using your story, and it's phenomenal. And Christine, I have, just due to time, I have one more question, but in it, if you want to throw in that quote that you shared with me earlier, I'd really would love to hear that. But my last question is a question that is the question I ask everybody on my podcast. And it's, if you could encourage one woman who feels blocked or limited to pursue a dream or goal based on her age or a life circumstance, and you had a life circumstance, and it's easy to play victim to that. And so I want you to just share and encourage what would you say to a woman who feels blocked or lost?
Oh, I totally know what that feels like. And the thing is that you can't do it in your you can't do it in your own strength, right? So you have to just kind of write out your thoughts, like journal. I think there's something tremendously powerful about that. And just say, hey, God, where do you want me to spend my energy? Where do you want me to go? Because I don't know where you want me to go. I don't know what your plan is for my life. I know that you have a plan for my life because otherwise I wouldn't be alive, right?
Right.
So what, and I think that we need to work on ourselves. We need to do exercise. We need to, whatever works for you. Obviously, everybody's different. You know, I like to swim. I could swim laps for 3 hours. I love it. I pray while I swim, and it's just so relaxing to me. And sometimes I go to the gym, the fitness center, and I'll go in there for a little while. And grab some friends, go for a walk. Try to surround yourself with healthy environments that will help you unblock yourself because you can't do it by yourself because you're in a dark space. You know, you feel like, oh, I don't have anybody to help me. I don't have any place to live. I don't have the tools. I don't have this. I don't have that. Well, ask God to show you where you can get that. You know, He has unlimited resources. Ask Him to put the right people in your life and take the wrong ones out. That's one I say all the time. God, if this is a situation that you want me to be in, if you want me to work with these people, or if you want me to help this seller or help this buyer, guide me to those right people because I don't want to hang out with people that are going to waste my time. I don't want to hang out with people that are going to verbally take advantage of me or abuse me or abuse the 37 years that I have and then write the contract with someone else. People do that all the time. I want to have a relationship and a client relationship with those people that God wants me to work with. When you're talking to these kind of people, like that church leader, you don't second guess God. I mean, when he said to me, I want this house, I see our family enjoying this. I want to do this. I want to build the deck out. I want to put jet ski ramp there. I want to put in an elevator, because he wanted a master on the first floor, but there wasn't one. So he talked about that. So maybe he's getting quotes during this time or talking to his financial advisors. But these kind of conversations with these kind of people that are true and honest, they are so different than conversations with people that want to take advantage of you. And in order to get unblocked, you need to surround yourself with those kind of people. You have to get in those kind of opportunities, put yourself in those kind of environments. Whatever it is that you're interested in, go volunteer in that organization. If you want to become a CPA or go, you can go to school for anything. Once you've raised your kids or you're done and you're looking at your life and you're, 57 or whatever, and you're like, what's next for me? My life isn't over. I had a hard time with that thought a few years ago. Like, what am I going to do with my life if I'm not married? Now I see that I can be independent. I don't have to have a husband, right? I can do this on my own. God is providing for me. He's guiding me. He's leading me. And He is restoring my heart and my mind to a dream that I had 31 years ago when all this happened to me. I thought it couldn't be possible. And now I believe that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time and resources. And I think that's what women need to do. They need to really spend time with God, really get on a one-to-one, having these hard conversations with God and say, you know what, God, I'm angry. I'm mad. I lost years of my life.
Yeah.
And He says, which leads in perfectly to this little thing that you wanted me to read. And I just found it this morning. And He says, God will give you back the wasted years. God is rewriting your story. Isn't it beautiful? God is rewriting your story. Your heart is going to be restored, repaired, and replenished. Your wasted years will be given back to you. This heartache and pain you're going through right now is not a part of His plan. His plan has a purpose. God values your emotions, and He sees right through you. He knows how you feel right now with tears coming down your face, and you don't know how you're going to make it through. He wants you to stay in hope and in faith. Don't be pondering on those wasted years that have gone by. The greatest promises of the Bible is not just that God will restore his people, but he will restore creation. Your years that have gone past, at this point in your life, focus on the future. You have a hope and you have a new purpose for your life at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
It's game on, folks.
God will restore those wasted years. That's beautiful. I love that. Christine,
Yeah.
I just appreciate you being open and honest and just sharing, your story and also your heart, and for these women, who are in domestic violence situations. And so we are going to look forward to seeing the shelter that's going to come to be. And I just thank you for your time, Christine. For people who are watching the podcast, Christine shared her phone number, especially if you are a woman in a rough situation, and she wanted it there for you to be able to reach out. Christine, if anyone else wants to reach out to you, where can we find you? Social media or for your business? And then, like I said, with your nonprofit and all the books that you shared, I will put that in the show notes so people can see that as well.
Yes. So I'm in Central Florida by Disney World, Orlando, Florida. But it's not just Orlando, it's all the counties around it. So that's where I am. My phone number is 407-492-2513. I'm giving that out for people that want to connect. My personal email is Christine, Christine, at luxury, Luxury, FL, like Florida, just the initials FL, and then real estate spelled out.com. So it should be Christine at luxuryflrealestate.com. And that's my private email. And, I'm here to collaborate. I'm here to encourage. If somebody calls me and they just want to pray, or they just want to talk on the phone, or schedule a time to do Zoom and have coffee and a cupcake, whatever it is, I want to be a resource for God to be able to use the pain that I had to help other women, to encourage, to inspire, to say, this is not how my story ends, ladies and gentlemen. God is rewriting my story, and he's restoring my heart, and it's taking time. It's not easy. It's a journey, and every single day I'm getting closer. My soul is becoming more beautiful because of the gold love that he's pouring into my broken pieces. I
That's
hope that you're
huge.
encouraged. I hope that it makes a difference for someone out there, even if it's just one lady. I am
That's all
just
that
so
matters.
thankful for the opportunity. And I
Yes.
pray for the shelter and for it to, and we have to change our mindset on money. Money can be used for good. It doesn't have to change you as a person, right? So
Right. Well, thank you,
anyway,
Christine. I appreciate you so much for joining me today on the More Than Your Age podcast.
thank you so much. All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.